Aliens Explored is a weekly podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions, and other strange events from both a believing and a skeptical perspective, whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it?
Hello everyone and welcome to Aliens Explored for this special edition where we're going to follow on from a previous discussion Stu and I had about a possible close encounter of the third kind that severely traumatised him. And this time we're joined by Ben Stephenson, who is we regard as kind of an expert in this kind of thing. He's from Central Utah Paranormal, and he's gonna walk us through what we can do to kind of resolve what actually happened that fateful night. Hi, Ben.
Yes.
So, hi, how's it going, guys?
Yeah, very well. Sorry, I should have introduced myself. My name is Neil Kelly. I'm one of your hosts.
I'm your other host, Stu Jackson. And yeah, Ben, really good to see you. Ben, of course, you've been with us since the beginning as one of our biggest supporters. Great to see you wearing your Aliens Explored t-shirt.
Yes. I'm very proud of it. I wear it all the time.
Oh, great.
Excellent. We wear ours occasionally. I'm wearing my Central Utah Paranormal one.
Yeah, mine's in the wash. Because I didn't get the laundry done in time, unfortunately, and it's too warm to wear the sweatshirt. But I do appreciate both of them, and I do wear them a lot.
Absolutely. So Ben, I mean, thank you so much for coming and talking to us about this today. So you've listened to the experience as I've put it out to our listeners as well. Would you think it's fair to say, diving straight in, is this one of those areas when ufology and sort of spiritual ghost events kind of overlap? Because that's how it's felt, certainly.
Yeah, I would say, especially, I mean, there was I took notes when I listened to it, but especially being able to see what you saw, Stu, is terrifying in person, right? I mean, we know it was terrifying. But I was back and forth. I was kind of on the fence because I was kind of thinking of the same thing as Neil, where these are some things that you think about often and study. And could that be a reason why that was the image that you saw? Could it have been something else? And I think that's kind of where I was. That's kind of where I was on the fence just a little bit. But it crosses both borders. Definitely, I would agree with that.
It is a kind of chicken and egg thing, I think, when people report that they've seen, for instance, fairies, and they look just like the fairies in the books. Well, do they look like that because the books were created by someone who'd seen a fairy, or had they just drawn this idea of a fairy? And of course, when people see something that they can't quite resolve, it resolves itself into that shape that they've seen before. Either something like that, or I mean, the classic experience I've had, which something like Stu's, is when you walk into the hall, you come in the front door, and there's someone's left a coat hanging on the end of the banister, and it looks like someone stood there in the hall in the dark waiting for you. That kind of thing. A coat with a hat on top of it. There you go. There's your sinister figure lurking in the dark. But of course, you can't. You're looking at it with the naked eye. You have to kind of resolve it and think, wait a minute, what is this? Do I run, or do I just check it out first?
And that's where it's different too, where Stu was looking through IR light, because he's seeing something through that lens that we can't see with our naked eye.
Yeah.
Yes, I have the offending camera right with us here. I haven't even switched it on since that event. I've got to say,
the haunted camera.
But I'm going to do it now so that hopefully it'll come through on the camera okay. I will switch it on now. Do I dare? Yes, I dare. Oh, no, battery's
We're
out
here.
of it. Oh, no, I've taken the battery out to recharge it, and I've forgotten where I've put
You
it.
took the battery out just in case you didn't. Make sure you didn't turn it on accidentally.
I might get that in a... in fact, I'll tell you what, if we can hold for 2 seconds, I will go and get the battery.
And meanwhile, we have a visitor. Hello.
Can you say hi?
Hi, how are you?
How are you doing? Here, I'll unplug my headphones so she can hear you.
Okay.
You want to say hi?
Hello.
Her name is Callie. I think you know that already.
Yes, hi, Callie. Sorry, I'm hearing myself coming back.
Oh, sorry.
We're in London, in England, and it's 4:00 in the afternoon here.
Isn't that cool? They're on the other side of the ocean.
Yeah.
Okay, sweetie, I gotta talk to him some more, okay? Can you shut the door for me, please? No. Can you go back upstairs and watch your show?
I want to stay
Or
there.
go see Mommy?
Mommy.
Uh-huh. Okay, close the door for me, please. Thank you, sweetie.
Okay, good night.
Okay.
She's delightful.
She's
Absolutely.
all the way, please. Yeah, she's my little princess, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Quite right, too. Okay, so I've got a battery in it now. I'm going to point it at the stack of books behind me, so hopefully this will work. You can see what it looks like. That gives an idea of what it's like on infrared.
Yeah, you lose all the colour, basically.
It does come through as a very monochrome. In fact, you know what? I can even, for our viewers on YouTube, where's the record button on here? There it is. Oh, no, it's not letting me. I have to do settings and things. But yes, it comes through as very, very monochrome, some greys and what have you. I'm going to switch it off before it catches something that I don't want to see. Because I'm still, even though this is a week and 2 days after the actual event, I would say I'm only 95% relaxed from the event. I'm much calmer than I was for a long time, but it was weird. The Tuesday after it happened, in the afternoon, it was almost like someone flicked a switch in my head from on edge to not on edge. Very, very bizarre. Yeah.
You mentioned lots of other things happening. You noticed doors opening and closing, lights going on and off. Is that still going? Well, you mentioned that lights, sometimes your bathroom light is on, and you're
yes.
sure you've turned it off.
Well, I can't say I'm absolutely sure, but it's not. So the doors opening and closing only happened on the evening, on the night that this event occurred. But since then, so I always, without even thinking about it, I always switch off the bathroom light when I exit the bathroom. It's one of those automatic unconscious things, like when you're driving a car, you don't think about changing gear or what you're doing, it just happens automatically. So that's where switching the bathroom light off is for me. But since this event, something I have never done before, I keep coming out to the bathroom and the light's on. Now, is it that some part of me for some reason is forgetting to switch it off suddenly as a change, or is something else switching it on and letting me know of their presence?
Just to be clear, this switch, it's a string hanging from a switch in the ceiling.
No, it is a wall light switch on the outside of the bathroom. It's a rocker switch.
Right, so it's a definite positive position.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes with those pull string ones, the switch doesn't quite catch and it doesn't go out.
I know what you mean. No, this is definitely it's a rocker switch.
Could you brush against
it? I don't feel
it?
spooked out by it.
Could you brush against it as you pass down the corridor next to it? I mean, I've turned lights on and on. I've done that in the bedroom when I'm trying to go to bed quietly when my wife's asleep, and suddenly it's full. Well, she's done it to me too, so kind of an accidental tit for tat. But yeah, you can. Our light switches in England are at about shoulder height, so it's quite easy to brush against them.
It's theoretical that might happen, but it's happening like 3 or 4 times a day. And it's never happened before. You'd think if it was brushing up against, that would have been something I'd encountered before.
Yeah.
Are you paying attention to what times a day it is that you notice that?
Not specifically. It is daytime, not nighttime.
And it doesn't have to be nighttime. That's Hollywood too, to an extent. There's still lots of those crazy things that can happen just as easily during the daytime.
Well, that was an interesting one with the what I'll call the initial experience. It was important to me that I was surrounded by light, and indeed I couldn't go back to bed until the sun had risen. And then I had to have my curtains open and you know, I mean, well, I didn't really sleep particularly well, but it wasn't until I knew it was daytime that I could even open the door to the corridor.
I just went to see mommy.
Okay, go back upstairs, please. No, sweetie. So normally when I do these, we might have a little bit of there for a while. But she is a daddy's girl. I don't want to say she prefers me over mom, but whenever I'm home, she just wants to be with me.
Not within mom's hearing, anyway.
Yeah. So sometimes when I like help people with these things, I kind of go through a string of questions. If that's something you'd be interested in, I don't know if you're comfortable kind of, you know, not necessarily reliving that event, but kind of, you know, hitting rewind and going back just a little ways.
The way my brain works anyway, some people think in words, some people think in pictures. I'm definitely a picture person, the way I think. So for me, recounting the story is reliving it, but I'm finding the more often I do that, the easier it's becoming. So I'm welcoming the opportunity. I'm normalizing to it, essentially.
Okay.
So no, I do welcome the opportunity.
Okay. Do you want me to do something like that with you? Is that okay?
Absolutely. I'm all for it.
Okay. So I kind of went through, I have like I don't want to say a monologue, but I have like a set question thing that I go through. But for your particular event, I just kind of found a few of them that were more relevant, I guess, to your situation, especially where I believe you. Like, you're not someone that I have to find if I trust or not. There's a lot of people that just lie to me all the time. So because they're expecting some Hollywood documentary, right? But I trust you, so I don't feel like I need to ask you all of those other questions necessarily. So how long have you lived in your flat?
It's been just over 2 years. So it will be 2 years and December, March, about 2 years and 5 months.
Okay. Is it older, newer? Do you know what year it was built?
Yeah, it was built, I think, around the early 1970s. It's a block of flats or apartments, if you prefer.
Okay.
Only 3 stories high.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of previous residents? Do you know any history of the home?
Not so much history of the home. The last tenant so it's a rented accommodation. The last person who lived here before me was here for 7 years. It was a woman who lived with her son. She just moved on. I think she might have had a second child and moved on somewhere bigger. She
Okay.
was here for 7 years. The people who own the property, my landlords, they originally bought the property for their daughter to live in. I think she lived here for about 2 years prior to that. So that's the last 9 years. I know of no dramatic or traumatic events from the property whatsoever.
Okay.
No,
That's always good
there's
to hear,
nothing I'm
right?
aware of.
Okay. So I believe Neil asked you this question in your last episode, or in your episode where you talked about this. But have you ever encountered those sounds before? You described like shuffling on the floor, on the footsteps.
In this property, no. I have heard similar sounds before when I have shared properties with other people and they have moved about. So that's how I sort of recognize the sounds for what they are, is because that's what it sounds like. It sounds very obvious.
But given
Okay.
it's a small apartment with neighbours above and below and to the side.
That's correct. That's
So,
that's correct.
so you're in the middle?
I sort of am. To one side, there is the corridor to gain access to the property. That's where my front door is. And then there's another neighbour the other side of that. One of the walls is an external wall, but 2 walls are adjoining other properties and also above and below. So I've got 4 neighbours directly with like, if you include the ceiling and floor, with sharing walls. Shed walls.
Okay. Okay.
I'm boxed in and surrounded.
Okay, so this next one is where some people like it because it helps them to recall more information than they would really remember. It's kind of like entering your mind, I guess you could say. But if at any point you get uncomfortable, just say like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Because for some people it's very therapeutic and it's good to go through that situation. And for some it's a little more traumatic and they prefer not to embark on that journey, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
You've definitely got me intrigued now.
okay, so just if you want to do this thing, or if you just want to say, hey, I don't want to continue with that, that's just fine. I won't be offended. It's
okay.
People tell me to stop sometimes, so
if it gets too much for me, I'll
yes,
certainly
I just wanted
say.
you to have that warning and let you know that I'm not trying to put you anywhere that you don't want to be, right?
Appreciate it. Okay.
Okay, so can you close your eyes for me and put yourself in that moment, just briefly? Remember that you're safe right now. I don't necessarily want you to focus on what you saw. I want you first to focus on these things one at a time. And you can answer these questions as you're thinking about them. Okay, where are the footsteps coming from? Like what direction?
I'm going to continue, but I am getting massive chills down my back and a feeling of unease. But I am going to continue. The footsteps coming from the corridor itself, not from another room off the corridor.
Okay.
Definitely
So
from the
directly
corridor
out.
itself.
Okay.
I wouldn't say directly outside the door from the living room. I'd say maybe 4 foot away.
Okay. Okay, so focusing on that sound, did they sound like feet across carpet, boots on a wood floor, like anything particular that sounded like?
the hallway itself is carpeted, and it sounded like feet dragging on carpet. So when you don't pick up your feet,
Okay.
and you're shuffling on carpet.
Okay. So the sound was definitely contact on that carpeted floor with that brushing sound as it walked.
Mm. I'm keeping my eyes closed, but yeah, this is starting to feel quite
So
intense just remembering the sound. But I'm happy to continue.
okay. You talked about hearing doors opening and shutting.
Mm-hmm.
From your
Yes.
memory, which doors would that have been?
I'm not entirely sure. I think possibly my bedroom door, but I couldn't swear to it.
Okay. Um, this one's kind of weird and it's kind of sensational, so I just wanted to give you a little heads up
Okay.
with that. Um, can you smell anything?
No. Interestingly
Okay.
enough, I won't say aware. I was conscious as I was writing the various things that happened to me. I was conscious to be aware of any smells. There was a smell that I created myself. I've got some white sage um, incense that. I mean, Ben, you'll probably be aware. White sage is really good for cleansing an area of
Mhm,
spiritual energy.
mhm.
So I did burn that in the hopes of clearing whatever it was, but it didn't work. So that's the only smell that I associate with the evening that was unusual, but that was caused specifically by me. No
Okay,
other
so
unusual smells.
just the standard smells that you already have within your home, or the ones that you had created at that time.
Yes.
Okay. Um, in your episode, you mentioned being terrified. You had armed yourself with a steel pipe.
Yes.
Um, I know that
I
you were
have it
feeling
here.
fear. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, do you have any other feelings in that moment that are prominent, like other than the fear that you were encountering at that time?
um, I suppose it's associated, but certainly a feeling that kept coming and going was the feeling of being watched, particularly being watched from behind. Um, that was a feeling that wasn't constant, but it sort of ebbed and flowed, came and
Okay.
went.
Okay, so this will be the last question, and then I'll just have you, shake it off a little bit and open your eyes, but wait until after this
Okay.
question, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so you mentioned that you spoke out loud, asking it to go away, that it was causing you distress, and that you wanted it to leave. Do you
Yes.
remember hearing any voices or sounds either audibly in your ears or in your mind?
No, no, there was no response whatsoever. Which, historically speaking, and I'm going back throughout most of my life, I have had moments where I felt like I'm not alone, and I have done that, and it has helped to calm me. Um, Almost like it's been heard, like a sense of it being heard, but I got absolutely no response. There was no response of any kind, and it was almost like I was saying it to a brick wall. There was no sense that it had been heard.
Like you were talking to a wall, like talking to deaf ears. There was no
Yes,
response.
yes.
Okay. Before you open your eyes, just want to tell you I've been watching you this whole time. You're safe. I don't believe Neil has seen anything.
I've been watching.
So, yeah, I have too. So when you are ready, just go ahead and open your eyes, shake your hands a little bit if you need to stretch. There's a lot of energy that comes with going back into a situation like that. And I want you to know how brave you are doing that, because it is not
Oh,
something easy to do.
thank you. It
And
was a very intense experience. Yeah. Ah,
so
but important for science.
in that moment, was there anything that came back to you that you may have not recognized?
Nothing unusual. Interestingly, I mean, I felt uncomfortable, and it was directional, very much as it was on that evening. But whereas the direction of discomfort came specifically from the direction of the corridor and also from behind at times, this time it was still coming from the direction of the corridor, but that's in a different direction now. Yeah.
So the only thing you've really experienced since that night in question was you've noticed that the bathroom light has been on.
It's the only thing I can say is a different thing, but it doesn't make me uncomfortable, which is, I would have thought it would.
Okay, so now for the fun part. Those are the main questions, but I think Neil had something to say. I don't want to cut him off.
Yeah, you mentioned the cold spots. Have you experienced that at all?
No,
Change temperature.
nothing like
And
that, nor the warm spot either.
okay, and I guess with the bathroom thing, it's because you're not sure if you turned it on yourself or left it on,
No.
or there's that.
I
Well,
definitely turned it on to use it. It's not sure whether I've switched it off or not, but that would be
Yeah.
really unusual for me.
Okay, it's something that you can kind of rationalise anyway, or you're just not sure enough. It's not as
I'm
stark.
very much. It's in my head very much. It's the same when I wrote my list of all the different things that were happening. When I had a coughing fit at 2:10 in the morning, I wrote it down. I don't think it was connected to anything that was happening, but I don't want to edit it either. I don't want to determine what's relevant and what's not, because I'm not in a position to know what's relevant and what's not. So it's kind of record everything and sort it out later. So that whole bathroom thing, yeah, it's kind of part of the same thing. It might just be because I'm distracted, I'm forgetting to switch it off. That might be a perfectly rational explanation, but I don't want to edit what I'm communicating, what's happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So this is where my favorite part comes in, and this is when I really wish that I lived where you live.
Okay.
But have you done any investigative, like, detective work since that night?
I'm going to be honest and say no. Until I switched the camera on for you earlier, the camera has remained off. I have not taken out my EMF reader. I have not taken out my Geiger counter. I've not taken out my dowsing rods. No, I've done none of that.
So I had a few ideas, I guess, come to mind that I've. So with my paranormal business, I do a lot more consulting than I do investigating, because I have lots of clients all over the U.S. And so it's kind of like what we've done so far today. It's a conversation, and then I give them some ideas, right? Especially where I can't physically be there to do it myself. But one thing that works super, super well, do you have any small voice recorders on hand?
Well, I have. Oh, to hand. I mean, I've got a big one in the computer that is recording at this moment. Not to hand. No, my phone's in the other room. If I
Okay.
need a handheld voice recorder, that's what I use. Is my iPhone.
So, one thing that works really well, and this would be something that I would offer to go through for you so you wouldn't have to, um, put, if you can, put a voice recorder where you first saw the being,
Mm-hmm.
and also where, trying to think of where else, but possibly where you were hearing the footsteps, or possibly you were in your study, right? When you saw the being?
I was in the corridor. I saw the being in the doorway to the study, and I'm sat in the study now. But it was right in the doorway where the doorway meets the corridor. So I think putting an audio recorder in that exact spot will also capture sounds from the corridor as well as the study.
Okay. But what I would suggest doing is getting one of those recorders and putting it in that specific area, and send me that recording, and I run it through a program that I use, and I just look for spikes in that audio, and
Okay.
I can find out if there's anything there bothering you at night.
Okay.
It's interesting, the things that I've been able to get from people that are in that same predicament as you. I know you use dowsing rods. You understand dowsing rods and their purpose and the different things that they can do. Have you ever used them to ask questions?
Oh, yes, all the time. Well, I use them as part of my crop circle
Mhm.
investigations. So, yeah, I always ask questions of them.
Okay, and you have used pendulums too, correct?
Yeah, for dowsing again, yes, I have a
Okay.
crystal pendulum. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Mine's upstairs right now.
In fact, I'm
But
wearing one as it
yeah,
happens.
very nice. So, have you tried asking any questions in your home, or is that something that would make you uncomfortable?
I haven't.
These are normally
As
the things
daft
I
as
do
this sounds,
for people so they don't have to do it themselves.
yeah, as strange as it sounds, it hasn't occurred to me to do that, and I don't know why.
So, when you do, if you do, also have a recorder going during that session, and send that to me too,
Right.
and I can also listen to those audios and look for different spikes or fluctuations. And
Okay.
I know you have a Geiger counter and an EMF reader. Have
Mm-hmm.
you taken those around your home at all?
Not since this event.
So
Probably not for about a year, to be fair.
one really good thing you could do, just do it maybe a few days in a row, and then do it again like a week later. Just walk around your home and mark down the different areas where there's spikes or different fluctuations, and just see how those differ day to day, or if it remains in one spot. You know what I mean? Like, scientifically determine if there are different issues in certain areas of your home.
Yes. So I know from a year ago. So when I first got the equipment, I played with it as you do, and I wanted to familiarize myself with it. So I did use it quite a lot around the home. Assuming it's not changed, the only place I get any rise from the Geiger counter is right up next to my TV. And I get no EMF spikes at all throughout the property.
Okay.
So you've got a baseline then.
I've got a baseline from about a year ago. It wouldn't hurt to update that. or if it was significantly different now, that would cause question for change. I mean, one big difference now is that the entire building is surrounded by scaffolding, where it wasn't a year ago. So maybe that might be acting like a Faraday cage. Possibly.
Yeah. One of my very favorite things to do, and I wish I was there to do it. I love walking around the home first. Like, I'm pretty sensitive to those different. Like, we all have our own gifts, you could say. Like, some people see things that we can't see. Some people hear things audibly that we can't. I'm more sensitive to different energies, and when I walk around a home, when I first get there, I'm like, don't tell me anything. Can I walk around your house first? And they're like, yeah, okay. And so I walk around and I remember the areas where I'm feeling those negative energies or those darker energies. And then I go through with equipment and verify those. And then I'm like, okay, now can you tell me like where you're having these issues? And they'll take you right to those like 2 or 3 places in their house and be like, here, here, and here. And you're like, that's funny, because then you show them your paper, like that's where I felt gross and where I found stuff, and now that's where you're telling me it is. So
yes,
but I feel like you're fairly sensitive to all of that same stuff too.
Well, what you're describing there is pretty much exactly how I've been most of my life when I walk into a new place. I can walk into a new place and instantly, it feels fine, or I might be uncomfortable, or I might be uncomfortable in a certain spot. Yeah. Neil's house is perfectly comfortable. There's no bad energies there. I can tell you that. Yeah. So
Even though it's an old Victorian house and someone was murdered a couple of doors down 20, 30 years ago, something like that.
Were they? I didn't know that. No, right.
Yeah.
But it hasn't gotten to your house yet.
Well, I don't. This is a weird thing. That we had a burst pipe, and it was from a redundant water system that had been sort of bypassed. There was still water in it, and we thought water was coming through the roof, but actually it was spraying upwards from this crack in the pipe, and we were feeling it falling down. So we thought, well, it was coming from above. We thought it was a router, but eventually I worked out there was this little box built in the corner where this pipe kind of went across the corner of the wall, and that's where it ripped. And so called someone to fix it, and they were digging around, and in a recess they found this lock knife, which was kind of all rusted, all sorts of stuff coagulated onto it. So I dropped it into a sandwich bag, and there it still is, because I tried to call the police. I thought, well, it's not an emergency, so I dialed the 101 non-emergency number, and basically it takes you through this menu. It said, well, have you found something? And I said, yes. And is it a valuable thing? And I had to say, well, no. I said, well, that's it. Thanks very much. Thanks for your call. So I've still got this thing that I found. Is it anything to do with? I don't know the details of the murder. It's just a neighbour told me, oh, yeah, someone was murdered before the house was refurbished. But no, still no energies from that, if it was a hidden murder weapon.
That's good. That means you're keeping good energies around you then, right?
Yeah. but the knife is in a sandwich bag under my bed. So... And it's a bed you can't easily get to. Like they have in American motels, where the bed is a kind of box. And if you want to get to the space under the bed, you have to take the mattress off and then lift off a couple of lids. And so all the storage space is in there. So it's a real pain in the backside to get in there. So it's just I've just left it. Apparently, there are a lot of dead bodies found in motels in that space. I've seen them. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with one. People go into a motel room, find a funny smell, can't find anything, but it's only when they take the bed apart, they find, oh yeah, someone's left a body in there. But nobody's in my bed, but it's the kind of... But when I heard the story, I thought, oh yeah, I've got a bed like that. I've got this knife that we found hidden in a cavity in the wall.
Well, I can tell, Ben, that your property, Neil, is, I think, as much by accident than anything else, has really good feng shui energy vibe to it.
That'll be down to the wife, I think. She's
okay.
All the decorating.
Does Janet do feng shui?
No, but she knows what she
Okay.
likes, and she's always rearranging things. So yeah,
Mm.
okay,
Yeah. There you
yeah.
go.
I
Right.
don't really know much about feng shui anyway. I don't know if there's a scientific way to work it out, or if you just move things around till you feel all right,
Yeah.
or have to
So
face a certain direction.
my homework then, Ben, is to record one night throughout the night. I mean, I've got some really good audio recorders. Obviously, as a filmmaker, some really good microphones and things like that. I will say you will hear me getting up to use the bathroom uh, at some
Oh,
point
and
during
that's
the
fine.
night.
And all you have to do is like when you send it to me in those notes, just be like, "Hey, I got up around 2 or 3," because I can kind of timestamp it. Like, okay, that's Stu.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So send that to you, and yeah, using EMF and dowsing, record audio as well. So out of interest, you've talked about spikes. Is it? Is it? I believe they call it EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, that you've been looking for.
Yes, I would be looking for. Generally, it's voices that come through on recorders that are more sensitive than our own ears,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I focus most of my investigation in. We are very based on communication. That's why, like, we would use dowsing rods or ask questions, and not just get responses on our devices, but also listen for those responses as they come through on EVPs.
Right.
But that's where um, I've been able to help people the most, or to help them understand what's going on in their home. Because for me, I've only encountered one really nasty experience, and all the rest are generally fairly decent, good energies that I've run into. So
Okay.
it's just kind of amazing the things that you can learn through EVPs. But
Mm.
and when you're asking your questions, just make sure that you pause for a not a significant amount of time, but enough time to get a response.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. That makes sense. And one thing just occurred to me a little while when I mentioned the scaffolding on the outside of the building, and I said, kind of might be acting like a Faraday cage. It occurs to me as well. Is it possible that it's also acting like some kind of antenna that's heightening spiritual energy or extraterrestrial energy or something? Is that a theoretical? I suppose anything's theoretically possible, but would that work with what you know?
That's actually really intriguing because I wouldn't have thought of that. That's that's something I'd like to look into too. Because we use like Faraday bags when we use spirit boxes and things like that. Because
Mm-hmm.
um, your responses your responses are more clear. You can rule out some interference. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so that's really that's really interesting. I'm gonna look into that myself.
Just a thought. I mean, the whole building is just surrounded by a metal cage, basically. So, and we know, like, well, I think about the old, 1970s televisions that would have, a metal bit of metal stuck to it, and that's the aerial. That's enhancing reception of energies,
Mm-hmm.
of radio frequencies, and what have you. So, yeah, I just wondered if it could be just a thing. Yeah, I try and think as scientifically about these things as I possibly can.
And I do too. But yeah, I wouldn't have considered that. So I'm gonna. Yeah, I really want to do some research on that.
Okay,
Mm.
I have a
Yeah.
question, and I'm sure you're going to tell me why this is a bad idea. Given that you spotted this thing on your infrared camera, would you advise against just, I don't know, tonight, just turn out all the lights, put up all the shutters, switch the thing on again, and go hunting? Perhaps not on your own, but perhaps with company. Just go and see what you can see through the infrared. Take a tour of the flat. Is that something you would I mean, would that traumatize you if you did?
Oh, sorry, I
See.
wasn't sure who you were asking the question of.
Oh,
I'm not doing it. Simple answer. I
Would you do
wouldn't
it if someone
that.
was with you?
Possibly.
I would send Stu like on a walk or somewhere else and then go do it myself.
I mean, I'll tell you
And
what I
then
could
Yeah,
also do
yeah.
is set up the camera on a time lapse with infrared.
Mm.
good
Yeah.
idea.
Oh, the idea is making me really uncomfortable, though.
Mm. But what I thought, I mean, when your initial reaction to what you'd seen, I was thinking, well, wouldn't you want to keep the lights out and the camera on so that this thing is there? Now you can see it. If you switch the camera off, it becomes invisible and it's still there.
Well,
Did you think?
no, I didn't want it to be there. So
Mm,
it's kind of like, when people bury their heads in the sand over problems, I
Yeah.
suppose.
mm,
While that's not innately how I deal with things, it certainly was in this case. I just wanted it not to be happening.
and
So
did you? Yeah, I
proving
can
that it was
understand that.
happening would be counterproductive.
And when you were sat in your lounge and you could hear doors opening and closing and shuffling, did you think any minute now it's going to be that door that opens and something's
The
going to
thought
come
occurred
in?
to me. The fear was there that would happen. Hence why I was keeping hold of my metal pole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'll say the only reason it's by my desk at the moment is because it's still there from when I showed it to Neil and we recorded. That was about a week ago, wasn't it?
So
Yeah.
you're not like walking around with it in your house. Still.
No. I'm well past that.
That's good.
I mean, tonight might be a different circumstance
We
after talking about this, but no, I'm much better now. And that was a weird thing I wanted to mention. Actually, was on Tuesday afternoon. It was almost like someone flicked a switch in my head from really unsettled to almost fine. It was a sudden change. Have you experienced anything like that with people who encounter or have encounters of various kinds, Ben?
The temperature change.
No, a sudden change in from feeling unsettled to feeling calm, but days later, very sudden, just like really sudden.
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't say all the time, but it also depends on the event. I'd say a lot more of the events that I've helped people with have turned out to be more positive than negative, but those negative events have affected people deeply and still are affected by it. Even if it's not there or it's been taken care of, they're still very affected. But there are those few that, excuse me, seem to find, I don't want to say that they settle, but they receive some kind of peace within themselves. Hey, that happened. We're moving forward. Today's a new day, kind of a feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, it does. That's really interesting. I was expecting a gradual, like as you normalise to things, a gradual shift towards being calm, not a sudden cliff edge of calm.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I found that unusual in of itself. Well, Ben, can't thank you enough for talking about this and for my homework, which I'm now going to set up and do this evening. Before we go now, anybody who wants to find out more about yourself, your work, Central Utah Paranormal, all your various podcasts, where can they go?
So most people just go to our Instagram, and then we have a tree link there that links you to our Twitter, Facebook, articles that we've had written, and our shop to get some clothes or some shirts or beanies or hats. But our Instagram tag is at central.utah.paranormal, and we would love to have you there and have you come visit. There's myself. I run all of our social media, but I also have 3 partners, Randy, Stephanie, and Kayla, that all have their own unique aspect and gift that they bring to our team. And we love doing it. We do it for free because we've seen people in these situations that encounter these horrible, in some cases, hauntings, and we're there to help you. We're not there to take your money. We're not looking for a stage at Hollywood. We just want to help you be more comfortable in your home or in your business so that you can move forward with your life.
That's fantastic and so worthwhile. I mean, on our Discord channel, one of our patrons, Israel, listened to the experience recently and said, I'm going to need to find a new place to live now. So the fact that you're out there helping people to either come to terms or become comfortable with these things, I think that's an amazing thing. Yeah, so Instagram, central.utah.paranormal. We'll stick a link in the description, of course, where people can find you. Thank you so much, Ben. Neil, anything to add on this special?
No,
episode?
just thanks very much, Ben, and lovely to meet you at long last. I know we've corresponded very briefly for quite a while and seen each other on social media, but nice to see you and Callie in face to face.
It's nice to see both of you and actually have that face to face conversation, because I've always wanted to do this.
Great.
Fantastic. And I bet it's great for our listeners, because we mention you so much on the show, of course, that now they can put a face to the name.
Yeah.
Well, I hope to meet more of you.
Fantastic. Well, that about wraps us up for this. So again, thank you so much, Ben. And listeners, thank you for listening to this special episode. We'll keep you updated with any developments as and when. So keep watching out for that. Turning into quite the saga, this. Absolutely brilliant. And we'll see you all next time. Take care.
Yeah, make sure you put this video up before you actually do any of your experiments, just so there's a record. You never know.
In case anything happens to me.
Thanks, we'd hate to lose this whole record. And we'd hate to lose you too, but the
record, okay.
But we can at least put up a safeguard.
All right, well, you take care, everyone. Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Catch you next time.
Aliens Explored is a Figo Films production in association with Juicy Falls. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter and Facebook by searching Aliens Explored or visit aliensexplored.com.